Online pharmacies that sell abortion medication across the country are unfortunately sharing their customers' data, sensitive data, with big tech firms like Google. Now, this is obviously concerning, considering the fact that we have, many states that have criminalized, in some ways criminalized abortion, certainly when it comes to the abortion providers. It's also problematic when it comes to medically related privacy rights. But it turns out there's a lot of deregulation when it comes to HIPAA online. So we're gonna get to that in just a moment. But the Department of Justice recently announced that the US Postal Service is allowed to deliver the abortion pill to people in states that have effectively banned abortion. Now, this new revelation though, regarding the sale of data, customer data, could give women pause before they go to order these drugs. So it is a cautionary story, but there needs to be more of a fight to protect people's privacies, especially when it comes to sensitive matters like this. Now, more and more people have been utilizing mifepristone and misoprostol, the two drugs used in medication abortions in the wake of these strict anti-abortion laws. Now, those drugs can in fact be purchased on the internet and they can be taken at home. Now, ProPublica ran checks on 11 online pharmacies that sell abortion medication to reveal the web tracking technology they use. Late last year and in early January, ProPublica found web trackers on the sites of at least 9 online pharmacies that provide pills by mail. Here's what the pharmacies are, online pharmacies. There's Abortion Ease, bestabortionpill.com, PrivacyPillRX, PillsOnlineRX, Secure Abortion Pills, AbortionRx, generic abortion pills, abortion privacy, and online abortion pill RX. Now, these third-party trackers collect a ton of details about the users, and then they feed that information, that data, to Google, its parent company Alphabet, and other third parties like the online chat provider LiveChat. Now, those details, by the way, include a lot of private information, including the web addresses the users visited, what they clicked on, the search terms they used to find a website, the previous site they visited, their general location, and information about the devices they used, such as whether they were on a computer or a phone. Now, this info apparently helps the tech companies personalize ads, which is why they want that data. But it gets way more nefarious than that once law enforcement is involved. So the 9 sites are also sending data to Google that can potentially identify users, ProPublica's analysis found, including a random number that is unique to a user's browser, which can then be linked to other collected data. So if you're thinking, well, but we're talking about the abortion pill, this is medically related, right? This is a medical issue. There are HIPAA regulations, so should there be some protection, some sort of law that protects the private information of the customers, the users here? Well, it turns out, no, it's not the case, because our politicians are dinosaurs and they have difficulty understanding how the digital era works, and our legislative efforts in trying to regulate personal information, private information on the internet have been pretty bad. Honestly, just watch any congressional hearing pertaining to tech companies and you'll want to pull your hair out, okay? But nonetheless, US privacy law does very little to control the kind or amount of data that companies like Google and Facebook can collect from individuals. So even if the data they're collecting has to do with medical issues, doesn't matter. The HIPAA regulations don't extend to the tech world, apparently. Anyway, tech companies are generally not bound by the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, known as HIPAA, which limits when certain healthcare providers and health plans can share a patient's medical information, nor does federal law set many limits on how companies can use this data. Now, 2 bills aimed at implementing broader privacy protections for online Consumers and their medical history failed to pass, oh wow, shocking, failed to pass through Congress in the last few years. And this could spell bad news in places that outlaw abortion. Now, law enforcement can obtain people's data from tech companies like Google, whose privacy policies say that they reserve the right to share users' data with law enforcement. ProPublica reports that Google requires a court order or search warrant, which law enforcement can obtain with probable cause to believe a search is justified. The company received more than 87,000 subpoenas and search warrants in the United States in 2021 alone. And look, it's important to understand that this analysis and that number does not provide a breakdown of these requests by type, such as how many involved abortion medication. And considering some of these anti-abortion laws being implemented recently, I'd venture to say that the abortion issue is really underrepresented in those numbers, although I don't know for sure. But one thing I do know for sure is that people have been prosecuted for searching for abortion drugs before, especially when the mother has miscarried and the prosecutors suspect that it wasn't a miscarriage, it was because the mother took an abortion pill or did something else. So I want to talk a little bit about that because this is the scariest part about the data collection associated with these abortion pill websites. So Ari Waldman, a professor of law and computer science at Northeastern University, says this information can tell a district attorney that you went to an abortion website and you bought something. That might be enough to get a judge to get a warrant to take someone's computer to search for any evidence related to whatever abortion-related crime they're being charged with. And guess what? If you're thinking this is far-fetched, if you're thinking, Anna, you're just a weirdo lefty who's fear-mongering right now about these red states and what law enforcement and prosecutors can do, guess what? It's already happened. Let me do it. Joe Biden likes to do and whisper, it's already happened. Okay. So let me give you examples. It's happened in Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, and elsewhere. In fact, at least 61 cases have occurred from 2000 through 2020 where prosecutors investigated people or ordered their arrest for allegedly self-managing abortions or helping someone else to do so. In most of these cases, people had used medication for their abortions. At least 13 states, by the way, now ban all methods of abortion, including medication abortion, some with minimal exceptions for rape and incest. And although security experts make it clear that there really are no foolproof solutions for this in terms of like what the consumer can do or what the online user can do to protect themselves, there are some suggestions, few pieces of advice here that you can take or leave in at least providing some protection for yourself. So you can install a web browser like Brave or Firefox that offers some privacy protections. You can install browser extensions that block third-party trackers and address the privacy settings on those browsers. But look, at the end of the day, the onus should not be on the consumer. The onus should not be on the American people. The onus should be on the tech companies that still have sneaky ways to get around some of the protective measures that the consumer can take. And really the most effective way to protect users' data is for online pharmacies that sell abortion medication to, maybe stop sharing health-related data with third parties and with tech companies like Google. Just a thought. But would they do that on their own? I wouldn't bet money on it. It would be far better if we actually had, a federal government that functioned properly and had even a little bit of interest in protecting American citizens. But so far, the dinosaurs have proven that they either are too incompetent to pass the legislation we need or really have no interest because they've been bought off by the very tech firms that do not want more regulation. And that's the situation we're dealing with. We're dealing with a situation where women are being prosecuted for allegedly taking abortion pills. Land of the free, home of the brave.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges, You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.